Tonight we travel to ancient Egypt, not to its golden treasures or famous tombs, but to the endless dust between the Nile and the desert, to the sounds of ropes straining, sandals scraping against limestone, and men moving under the unrelenting sun. This is the story not of rulers, but of laborers, the nameless hands that lifted the stones, the backs that bore the weight of ambition, the quiet strength behind one of the world's most enduring wonders, the Great Pyramid. But we'll also move beyond the dust. We'll wander into the mysteries of Khufu himself. We'll peer into sealed chambers buried deep in the pyramid's heart. And finally, we'll retreat into the sacred silence of temple priests, whose soft footsteps echoed on cool stone floors, far from the noise of building. And if you fall asleep as we go, that's perfectly fine. Let this gentle journey be a soft landing into the quiet corners of your mind. Let's begin with a single day in the life of a pyramid builder. Why it sucked to haul stone blocks for a pharaoh. Imagine waking up before the first light touches the eastern horizon. The air is cool, but it won't stay that way for long. Around you, the world is quiet, except for the soft shuffling of other men rising from their mats, adjusting their linen skirts, and reaching for a small piece of bread or dried fish before the work begins. You are not enslaved, not exactly. You're part of a labor force, conscripted perhaps, or hired for a season. You might have come from your village to earn grain and favor, knowing the work would be backbreaking but necessary. Or perhaps your family owed a debt to the state, and your body is its payment. There is no ceremony to begin the day, only dust and the call of the overseer's voice, already sharp before sunrise. You walk in silence to the worksite. The pyramid rises ahead like a pale mountain, glowing faintly in the early light. It is incomplete, its sides still rough, its angles imperfect. But the vision is clear. This structure is to be eternal, a stairway for the soul of Pharaoh to ascend to the sky. You are a small part of that vision. Your task today is to move stone. The blocks are massive, some the size of a cart, others larger still. You will not carry them on your own. Teams of men, using ropes, wooden sledges, and slippery mud or water to ease the drag, shift the stones forward inch by inch. But even with 30 hands on the ropes, the work is crushing. Your palms burn. Your shoulders ache before the morning heat begins. You do not shout. Talking is rare. Orders are barked, yes. But among the workers, communication is quiet. The rhythm of movement is your language. A grunt here, a nod there. You learn to sense the weight of others beside you. You learn to move as one. The overseers walk along the stone lines carrying staffs or rods. Some carry whips. Most prefer not to use them, but the threat is never far. If a rope slips or a sledge veers too far, you may hear the crack before you feel the sting. And then, you simply continue. There is no clock, only the sun. As it climbs, the world becomes hotter. The dust rising from the ground clings to your skin, mixing with sweat, making your back itch under the weight of your labor. The smell is sharp, a mixture of heat, stone, and the faint sweetness of date paste from someone's mid-morning ration. You are allowed rest, but only in short breaks. A sip of water, a handful of lentils, perhaps a shared fig, then back to the ropes, back to the stone. The work is repetitive, but not mindless. You must remain alert. One mistake, one poorly timed pull, and the sledge could tip, or worse, crush someone's foot or leg. Injuries are not rare. There is no hospital, only poultices and prayer. And yet, even in the monotony, there is something almost meditative about the rhythm. The sound of the sledge scraping along smooth stone, the creak of ropes straining, the soft grunts of men working in unison. It is music of a kind, the soundtrack of something ancient being born. By mid-afternoon, the light blurs the landscape. The limestone glows white-hot under the sun. You squint through the brightness and keep pulling. You think of water, of shade, of home. When the overseer finally calls an end to the shift, it is like being released from stone itself. You collapse in a patch of shade, drinking deeply from a shared jar. Your fingers tremble, your legs ache, and tomorrow you will do it again. At night, lying beneath the stars, you wonder, just for a moment, who the pyramid is truly for. The pharaoh, yes, but perhaps also the gods. Perhaps also time itself, And maybe in some hidden way, a part of it will always belong to you. And then sleep comes quickly, because your body cannot stay awake, even if your mind still climbs the pale stairways of stone. The enigma of Khufu and the Great Pyramid. Let us now turn our gaze from the laborers beneath the sun to the man for whom the stones were raised. His name was Khufu, known also by the Greek form Cheops. To us, he is more shadow than substance. A name carved into history, yet largely silent. A figure both monumental and mysterious. Khufu was the second pharaoh of Egypt's fourth dynasty, reigning more than 4,500 years ago. And it was during his reign, likely beginning around 2589 BCE, that the Great Pyramid of Giza was conceived, designed, and begun. A project so vast, so enduring, that even today its silhouette defines ancient Egypt in the world's imagination. But who was he? We know surprisingly little. Unlike later pharaohs, Khufu did not leave behind grand statues of himself. No sprawling temples bearing murals of conquest, no lavish tomb discovered filled with treasures. His image survives in only a few small statues, one of them just a few inches tall, carved in ivory. His voice is entirely lost. There are no surviving texts written by Khufu, no speeches, no declarations. Even the famed pyramid texts, magical inscriptions meant to guide the dead into the afterlife, came after his time. What remains is the pyramid itself, a structure that seems to speak without words, towering above the desert, its message both timeless and unreadable. And yet, even without his voice, his presence lingers. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing thousands of years later, claimed that Khufu was a cruel and oppressive ruler, that he forced his people into labor, closed temples, and profaned the land with endless toil. But Herodotus also admitted he relied on hearsay. His writings are rich in color, but soft on evidence. Modern scholars, drawing from archaeology and logic, offer a more nuanced view. It's unlikely that slaves built the pyramid. Evidence from workers' villages nearby suggests a rotating labor force, men who worked in teams, housed and fed by the state, some even buried with honor near the pyramid itself. If Khufu was feared, it may have been in the way any powerful monarch is. Distant, absolute, but not necessarily cruel. Still, the scope of his vision was immense. The Great Pyramid originally stood at over 146 meters, nearly 500 feet, tall. For more than 3,800 years, it remained the tallest human-made structure in the world. Its sides aligned almost perfectly to the cardinal directions. Its core consisted of over 2 million limestone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons. No cranes, no wheels, only planning, coordination, and an empire's worth of quiet persistence. Some believe the pyramid's proportions carry hidden meaning, that its dimensions encode mathematical principles, celestial alignments, or even forgotten truths about the universe. Others see it as a demonstration of earthly power, a monument not to mystery, but to control. And then there is the king's chamber, a space deep inside, shielded by vast granite blocks, lined with red Aswan stone, and topped with massive slabs weighing tens of tons each. Was it a burial site? A symbolic gateway? A cosmic anchor? No mummy has ever been found inside, no treasure, no writings, only an empty granite sarcophagus and silence. In that silence, the mystery deepens. Did Khufu expect to live forever in the structure he built? Or did he, like many rulers, hope that memory itself would be his afterlife? Perhaps it worked, because while we may not know his voice, his thoughts, or his face, we speak his name still. And as you listen now, slowly resting deeper into the rhythm of breath and night, imagine what it means to leave behind no book, no portrait, no epitaph, only a mountain made of stone, pointing to the sky. From the ruler behind the pyramid, we now travel inward, into its very heart, into shafts and chambers, into darkness and hidden space. What lies inside the Great Pyramid? And what does it mean that we still don't fully know? Inside the pyramid, hidden chambers and curses. Now we drift deeper, not through the sand, but beneath it, beyond the light of day, beyond even the reach of memory, into the silent heart of the Great Pyramid. Imagine the air growing cooler, heavier. The sounds of the world above fade into hush. You step through a narrow passage, cut carefully into stone over 4,000 years ago. The walls close in. The path is steep and the ceiling low. Even standing upright is no longer easy, but this journey was never meant to be walked by the living. The Great Pyramid is not hollow, not like a temple or palace. It is dense, layered, almost solid, but within it lies a system of passageways and chambers, precise and purposeful, carved in silence by hands that never left their names. You pass the descending corridor, dim and narrow, and reach the Grand Gallery, a space unlike any other in ancient architecture. Tall, with a corbelled ceiling that rises high above, it is both majestic and austere. The stones are polished and fitted so tightly a blade could not pass between them. There is no decoration, no writing, just geometry and shadow. At the end of the gallery, a small passage leads to the king's chamber, a single room, rectangular, lined with red granite brought from faraway quarries in Aswan. It is utterly silent inside, the kind of silence that seems to press against the skin. At its center sits the sarcophagus, empty, heavy, unadorned. There is no evidence that a burial ever occurred here. No treasures were found, no bones, no gold. Only a stark, precise space, as if designed more for alignment than remembrance. Above the chamber, 5 layers of granite beams form a relieving structure, each layer angled and arranged to bear the unimaginable weight of stone above. The design is architectural genius, but it is also quiet. Even today, we do not fully understand the pyramid's internal structure. In 2017, a team of scientists using particle detectors revealed a previously unknown void, a large empty space above the Grand Gallery. Its purpose remains unknown. There is no entrance, no way to see inside, only the suggestion that the pyramid is not finished revealing itself. And then there are the shafts, long, narrow tunnels that extend from the chambers toward the outer walls. Some point toward stars, others appear blocked. Were they air vents, spirit passages, or simply part of a larger design we've yet to comprehend? Over time, the mysteries gave rise to myths. For centuries, explorers and treasure seekers entered the pyramid in search of gold, knowledge, and secrets. Some claimed to feel watched. Others heard strange echoes or suffered accidents. Superstitions took root, tales of curses, of Pharaoh's wrath, of divine retribution. The so-called Curse of the Pharaohs became popular in the 19th and 20th centuries, particularly after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. But even in Khufu's pyramid, centuries older, whispers of danger followed those who disturbed the stone. There is no historical evidence of a literal curse, no inscriptions warn of death, but the feeling of presence is something many describe. The weight of the stone, the density of the space, the darkness that is more than just absence of light. It can feel alive. But this is not horror. It is reverence. Because the pyramid is not merely a tomb. It is a symbol of order, of eternity, of cosmic balance. Each angle reflects the heavens. Each block is aligned to the cardinal points with astonishing precision. The ancient Egyptians did not see life and death as separate. The pyramid was not an end, but a bridge. As you lie here listening, perhaps half asleep, perhaps somewhere between, imagine yourself beneath those millions of stones, not trapped, but held, the air still, the earth quiet, the stars aligned above, even if you cannot see them. And somewhere, deep in the center, the silence of a sarcophagus that was never truly filled. From this inner silence, we turn to a different kind of stillness, one not carved from stone, but shaped by prayer and incense. Our final journey tonight takes us into the temples and the world of the priesthood, the sacred calm of the temple priesthood. Now we emerge from the silent heart of the pyramid and step into a different stillness, one shaped not by stone and labor, but by rhythm, ritual, and reverence. Welcome to the temple, not the kind filled with crowds or chants, but the quieter halls reserved for priests, guardians of sacred knowledge, caretakers of the divine presence. Imagine yourself entering through a narrow gate at dawn. The air is cool and moist, heavy with the scent of lotus, crushed myrrh, and faint traces of sandalwood. The stone beneath your feet is worn smooth from generations of barefoot passage. The walls are lined with carvings, hieroglyphs etched not to be read aloud, but to resonate silently through centuries. This is not a place of spectacle, it is a place of order. The temple priesthood in ancient Egypt was not merely spiritual. It was scholarly, astronomical, medical, and mathematical. Priests were trained in reading the stars, interpreting dreams, recording harvests, and managing temples that functioned as vast economic centers. But more than anything, the priest's life was about rhythm, about purity, about quiet preparation. To serve in the inner sanctum, one had to be ritually clean, body and soul. Priests bathed multiple times a day, shaved their heads, wore linen free of color or stitching, and often fasted from certain foods. Their hands were not stained by labor. Their voices were reserved for hymns, their breath timed with incense. Each morning, a carefully choreographed ritual unfolded. Before sunrise, a high priest would enter the naos, the inner sanctuary, where a statue of the deity was kept, hidden from public view. The doors, often gilded with gold or electrum, would be slowly opened. The statue was not simply an image. It was the dwelling place of the god. The priest would wash the statue, anoint it with sacred oils, and dress it in fresh linen. Offerings of bread, beer, fruits, and flowers would be placed before it. Incense would rise in thin, curling tendrils, carrying prayers upward, a bridge between seen and unseen. Then the doors would be shut again, gently. The god would rest in darkness, and the world would resume its rhythm. Outside, the temple complex bustled in hushed activity. Scribes copied texts onto papyrus scrolls. Physicians prepared herbal remedies. Astronomers tracked the movement of Sirius to predict the flooding of the Nile. Farmers brought offerings. Nobles sought blessings, and all of it held together by ritual, not law, not armies, but sacred routine. It is easy to think of priests as distant, but their lives were full of quiet burden. They carried not only the expectations of the people, but the weight of cosmic order, what the Egyptians called ma'at, the balance between chaos and harmony, between darkness and light. To light a lamp, to sweep a floor, to pronounce a word in the right tone, each action was a thread in a great invisible tapestry. And at the end of each day, they returned to their own quarters, modest and serene. The rituals were complete, the offerings made. The world for now was in balance. As you listen now in your own stillness, perhaps far from temples or pyramids, feel that sense of rhythm, that pulse of repetition, the quiet assurance that things once sacred remain sacred, even in memory. The priesthood has long since vanished. The statues are broken, the incense no longer rises, and yet the silence remains. And from that silence, we now gently close our journey. The pyramid, the pharaoh, the chambers, and the temple all fade into dusk.